All right, hey guys. So getting in the shop here. So opening up the doors, getting some light in here. So yeah, guys, we got I picked up, traded my Maserati for this 2015. I'll show you guys here in a minute everything. Um and the kid, guy, whatever, he notified me that it needed some clutch work, whatever. Had a newer 60,000 mile motor on it, a WRX. So I'm learning. I got a couple different angles to hit here real quick, but uh, I'm learning with the 2015 WRXs. They are a little bit more. I want to say not unique, but unique because it goes from 2008 to 2014, but with like the 2015 up WRXs, you can't just swap like STI this, STI that, and you can't swap. I was looking for like an STI intercooler, and it won't fit because the WRX top mount intercoolers. Their piping is on the left and right side instead of it being straight down underneath like the STI is. So, anyways, that's for like modifications and stuff. So, like I've done the brakes on this, um, did the oil, the filter, change all that out. Um, I got the windows tinted, but I'll show you here. So this is it right here. Um, I put the spoiler on. It has all black accents on it, so I just left it black. It just saved me because paint for this is like $120 a pint. So it's like a K1X white pearl. So it's if you're anything to do with painting, like I'm a painter, structural painter, that stuff is not cheap. But I think I have like a quart. I bought like a quart for like 190 bucks. I got a really good deal. But anyways, guys, this video is mainly for the clutch. So you see a lot of guys putting the carbon fiber drive shafts on and all that, but there really is no like. I mean, there is, but it's not like they got big shops and they got all the zip tools and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, I have a good selection of tools. This is my motorcycle and car, like two car garage shop, whatever. But anyways, guys, so from start to finish for this is actually as long as you do the steps the way everybody just starts getting all their sockets out, all their screwdrivers out, and they start ripping stuff off. So I like to see everything I'm working on. So what do I need to get to see the transmission? All right, so I first thing I did is I pulled top mount intercooler off. And anyways, I don't really have any lights on right in here, but anyways, the transmission is literally right there. There's like the bolt, 14 millimeter bolts on each side. You got the starter right here. That comes off real easy. And that's that. Like that's literally you can see the whole transmission, boom, just by taking the intercooler off. Then what I did is so a lot of guys struggle because they drop the transmission with the CV axles in. So the big thing that I do is you take your, I think I have it around here somewheres. My twins are in here and they are always taking my tools and they are running off with them and they just get really gnarly with running around with my tools. Um, but anyways, it's like a 32, 33 millimeter for your center CV axle nut. Like I haven't replaced these the fronts yet, the brakes or the rotors because they're Brembos. I didn't realize they were Brembos when I did the ordering of my brakes, but they were upgraded. So those are coming. The rears are done. The fronts, I got all them coming and I repainted the calipers. But anyways, guys, just disconnect your lower shock tower or shock tower bolt. Don't do anything with the tower, but your lower shock mounting bolts right here, your two bolts right here, pull those out. I leave one in so it doesn't just slam the rotor down in the hub assembly. So disconnect your line on your left, your brake line on your right, and then so what I did is I slowly lowered this down and I undid the steering knuckle right here. Did that. And so then what that allows you to do is get underneath, and here's your CV axle hole right there. So what I did is I took, and this actually went really easy. Man, what the heck? Like all my tools are missing. But anyways, I took like a crowbar spade, or you can take a 12-inch, 14-inch pry bar light, because you don't want to crack your housings or anything. And all I did was I got right behind, right on your spline shaft, right in between there, and you literally just pry back a little bit at a time, and it should just, if it's greased well enough, it'll slide right out. Once you do that and you get that loose, that allows you to pull the rotor and angle it down, and then slide your center shaft spline on the back side. And then as long as you don't rip your CV axle boot, like mine are in really good shape. So right here, you can see where it just buckled up right there. So when I turn the knuckle, it'll go back into place. But that was where, you kind of got to put some ass into it, and you just, as you're like using your stomach to push down on the rotor, you're pulling that spline shaft out on an angle. And then once you get that out, what that allows you to do is pull it this way, pull it towards the bumper, and then it allows you to pull using the leverage of your boot, not the leverage, but the slack of your boot, and on the transmission mounting side, and just pull it right out. So you're going to get leakage. So this is what I did. I learned you're going to get leakage. So transmission fluid, actually. So what I did is your transmission bolt is a T70, and it's right there. Boom. Right there. So T70. And it's on there. Like, you got to put some ass into it. I just use an impact gun, lightly, couple zips on it, and it broke it free. Have a pan ready, drained it all out. Then I went over and I did the passenger side. And then once I got both, there's that CV axle right there, cleaned it up. There's that CV axle over there. And then from there, I went on to drop the front part of the exhaust, because that actually crosses right under your CV axle, and then it helps you just take the drive shaft down. You're going to have to do that anyways. So once you do that and you clean up all your transmission fluid, your starter is right. Let's see if I can get some light up in there. So starter is right there. 3 bolts on the starter, pulls that right off. And then you can start taking off your transmission housing bolts, which is 14 millimeter. You can loosen them up just a little bit. And then once you get your those loose, just break them free, because that's like your main point. So if you screw those up, then you don't have to waste your time taking all your supports and everything down. So down next, onto the next part. So you come up here, you disconnect your exhaust at the midsection. I left mine hanging with the support down there. So then it lets you access your drive shaft up there. It's 2 14 millimeter bolts. Drop those down. I left mine kind of like 3 or 4 threads in there, so the whole thing, the knuckles aren't just buckling down. Then you go to the rear drive shaft and undo your 4 bolts down there, which I have because I'm like done working for the day. And you just undo those. Mine are just finger tight. And once I drop those, that'll allow you to pull the drive shaft back, or it'll drop it from the rear diff spindle. And then that'll allow you to come back, and you can pull it out from right up in there, which is the rear of your drive shaft, or rear of your transmission. Pull it out, have a bucket ready just in case there's any kind of fluid that drops down. And then once you do that, pretty much every bolt on here for your cradles is 14 millimeter. Once you save this right here, this cradle right here for last, have a jack ready, because that will, on I have a little guy right here, this little jack with a large block right here for the transmission. So it's wide. It's like a 4x6. So it's wide, and it'll help me level the transmission. So when I do lower it down, because that's a really low jack, so you can see as my jack stands are really high up, I'm going to have plenty enough room to drop down the transmission enough where I'm leaving the lines connected on top of the transmission. So I do have to take the shifter boot out and all that stuff, pull that down just enough to get the clutch plate. I'm gonna pull the clutch plate, put a new pilot bearing in, and I got these over here. So I did order. So here's your clutch basket, right? There's that. Here's your clutch plate, and then your alignment tool, your pilot bearing, your Loctite, and your shifter. So your boot on your fork, shifter boot. So this kit didn't come with a shifter boot. So I ordered one, not a shifter boot, but a shifter fork. And because they said OEM is good up to a certain amount of horsepower, but if you're in there, you might as well replace it, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up just ordering an OEM one. It was like $95. They can go up to like $300. They get really just made of all different kinds of strengths and durabilities, whatever. I just went OEM. I put a lot of OEM parts back on this car. This is just like a $295 clutch basket plate package. So this car probably maybe has 320 horse. That's, not crazy. But that's it, guys, for your transmission, for taking it out. Now, putting it back in, as long as you have, there's a difference between, dropping the transmission and being able to roll the transmission. So I'm actually going to have trouble with the jack. I'm going to put like a board down, because you want to be able to lift the transmission back up level. If you kick it, cockeye it, whatever, it's going to suck. So doing this with one guy is really tough. You really have to have everything lined up perfect. So when you have your clutch plate up in there and you torque down all your basket and everything is good, you put your transmission back up. So my car is higher in the front, probably about 5 to 8 degrees. I'm just estimating. But it does, like I'm saying, it has a slight degree. So when I bring that transmission back up into place, I'm going to have to like kind of cockeye mine up just a hair and then push it back up in there. And you just have to make sure you're straight on, your bolts line up. And then as soon as you get that, there's a trick that you can do is turn your flywheel up front and align your splines. So make sure that you're lined up as good as you think. Slide it forward. This is where two people is good, because as you're sliding it forward, it makes it a lot easier for the transmission, because you got to put like a little wiggle on it. And once you get that, though, those are like your basic like steps for a move. Everybody thinks that they have to try and drop the transmission to get order the CV axles out. No, you don't. Everybody's like, oh, I can't see. So you know what? Start from the top. Take your top mount intercooler off. Take your starter off. Okay. Then take your CV axles out. And then once you take before you take your CV axles out, you drain the transmission fluid. I kind of did a CV axle one side, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot to do the fluid. So I just T70 Torx bit, put a little impact, zip, came out, filled up right here. So right here is my fluid. Got all that out. I'm going to replace the fluid anyways. So ended up getting both CV axles out good. When I put them back in, I'm going to lube them up really nice, clean them up, make sure the boots aren't cracked, and then reassemble everything. But that's it for taking it out, guys. Maybe when I go to drop the transmission and all that stuff, I'll show you guys how it does, how to, my difficulties, because I know it's not going to be easy. So but just the basics, ripping it down, that's like the steps to do it first. Because everybody, they just start going and they're like, oh, how much do I got to take off? What do I got to take off? And just the steps getting it down there to do it. So, but yeah, that's the quick. I won't say quick. I probably think I have between everything I've done so far about maybe an hour and a half into getting it done. I kind of diagnosed what I had to do first. And then next, from here on out, I kind of be like, all right, it's pretty self-explanatory. My whole goal is to drop the transmission. So I'm just the fluids out of it, drop the drive shaft. Tomorrow I'm just gonna pull it out. My goal is I do it step by step. I'm not in any hurry to get this car back on the road. I mean, I do want to get it done. My wheels are off at powder coat, so I have probably about a week to 10 days for that turnaround. So I have a week to 10 days to get this transmission done. So, and if I do need help, I always got a mechanic buddy of mine. He can come over and help me, take 20, 30 minutes and get the transmission back up in there because that's the hardest part. And then once that's done, then I can just go and bolt everything back up. And then just make sure you torque everything down that needs to be torqued. Make sure you put your Loctite on where it needs to be Loctited. Grease anything that needs to be greased. Make sure your CV axles are greased on both spline shafts. Make sure you put your 7590 gear oil in for the transmission. And, from there, you should be good to go.